Welcome to World Information HD. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting as we uncover the top 10 most valuable and rare USA Lincoln pennies worth millions. These tiny treasures might look like ordinary pocket change, but some of them carry staggering values that could change your life if found. Stay tuned as we reveal the rare dates, minting errors, and hidden gems that make these pennies true collectors' dreams. The year was 1977, a time when disco ruled the radio, Star Wars exploded onto cinema screens, and the United States was celebrating over 200 years of independence. But tucked quietly into the everyday transactions of ordinary Americans was a small copper coin, the Lincoln 1-cent penny. To the average person, it was just another cent, often jingling in pockets or tossed into glass jars at the end of the day. But what many never realized was that some of those pennies carried a small but powerful detail, the tiny letter D beneath the date. That mark would make all the difference, for it told the story of where the coin was born and how valuable it could one day become. The 1977 D Lincoln 1-cent penny was minted in Denver, Colorado, one of the busiest mints in the nation. By this time in history, the Lincoln cent had already been circulating for nearly 7 decades. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the design was revolutionary. For the very first time, the image of a real historical figure appeared on a circulating United States coin. Victor David Brenner, the artist responsible for its design, captured the humble yet determined expression of Lincoln with such precision that his portrait has endured for over a century with only minor changes. Now imagine yourself in the bustling Denver Mint in 1977. The air clanged with the rhythm of massive presses striking blanks into shiny new coins. Each penny weighed just over 3 grams and carried the familiar composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a blend that had been used since 1864. This was long before the shift to zinc-based cents in 1982, so the 1977 D penny was born of nearly pure copper, giving it a rich reddish hue when new, and a darker chocolate tone as it aged. The obverse, or front side, proudly displayed Lincoln's bust facing right. Above his head stretched the word, Liberty, and to the right of his profile was the date 1977. Just beneath that date sat the small but meaningful letter D, the mint mark for Denver. On the reverse side was the iconic Lincoln Memorial, a design that had replaced the wheat stalks of the earlier cent in 1959. This memorial design carried more than just architecture. If you looked closely enough, within the center of the memorial itself, you could make out a tiny, barely visible statue of Lincoln seated inside, just as he appears in Washington, D.C. This was a remarkable detail many casual collectors never noticed, but it showcased the artistry and precision of United States coinage. In terms of production, the 1977 D penny was no rarity at birth. The Denver Mint produced well over 4 billion of these coins, flooding the nation with their copper glow. For that reason, most circulated examples are worth only face value. After all, how could something so common be worth more than a cent? Yet history and collecting have a way of transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. What gives some 1977 D pennies their special allure is not just age or composition, but condition, rarity of surviving high-quality examples, and unusual errors that escape the mint's watchful eyes. Collectors prize what are known as mint state coins, those that never circulated and remain in pristine, untouched condition. For a 1977 D penny, finding one with bright luster, sharp details, and absolutely no scratches is far harder than you might think. These pennies may have been struck by the billions, but most were immediately used in commerce, rattling around in pockets, vending machines, and cash registers. The ones that survived untouched are the treasures. Error coins are another realm of fascination. In 1977, like in many years, the mint's massive presses sometimes slipped or misaligned, resulting in off-center strikes, double strikes, or pennies missing parts of their design. A famous type of error collectors seek is the doubled die, where letters or numbers appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die itself. While no major double die variety has been confirmed for the 1977 D penny, Even minor doubling or striking errors can make a coin stand out dramatically in value. But why does a small cent from 1977, weighing barely more than 3 grams, capture the imagination of collectors and investors? The answer lies in the blend of nostalgia, artistry, history, and rarity that only coins can provide. For older generations, the Lincoln penny is tied to memories of childhood piggy banks, candy bought for just a few cents, and the satisfying clink of copper coins on a wooden counter. For younger collectors, it's a tangible piece of American history, a direct link to a time long before smartphones and digital payments, when physical money told the story of a nation's progress. The 1970s themselves were a fascinating decade in coinage. Inflation was creeping upward, and debates raged about whether the cent was even necessary anymore. Each 1977 penny, made of mostly copper, cost the mint a fraction of a cent to produce, but within just a few years, the value of copper itself would rise so sharply that the metal inside a cent was worth more than 1 cent. This looming problem is what eventually pushed the U.S. Mint to change the composition of the penny in 1982, replacing most of the copper with cheaper zinc. That shift makes pre-1982 pennies, including the 1977 D, part of the last great era of true copper coinage. Now, consider how collectors judge these coins today. Numismatists, or coin experts, often grade pennies on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect specimen. A well-worn 1977 D penny pulled from circulation may grade only a 10 or 20, worth little more than face value. But a flawless example, shining as if it just left the Denver Mint, can grade much higher, commanding prices that surprise casual observers. In fact, when preserved in the finest condition, the 1977 D penny becomes a hidden gem that auction houses and collectors eagerly pursue. Auction records reveal that these coins, when certified at the very highest grades, can achieve prices far beyond what anyone in 1977 could have imagined. Imagine a coin that once bought a single piece of bubble gum now commanding hundreds, even thousands, simply because it survived in immaculate form. This is the magic of coin collecting, transforming the common into the rare through the passage of time, care, and discovery. Let's also not forget the artistry of Brenner's Lincoln design itself. Though the reverse changed in 1959 to the memorial, the obverse has remained remarkably consistent, making Lincoln's profile one of the longest-running coin designs in the world. The durability of that design, paired with its place in American history, ensures that even everyday dates like 1977 carry a certain charm. For many, collecting pennies like the 1977 D isn't about immediate profit but about the thrill of the hunt. Scouring through pocket change, old jars, or inherited collections to find that one coin in exceptional shape brings joy that money alone cannot buy. Stories abound of collectors who stumbled upon near-perfect 1977 D pennies tucked away for decades, only to realize their humble find was worth far more than a cent, and this is where the world of value becomes so captivating. While billions of 1977 D pennies remain in circulation, only a tiny fraction of them qualify as true collector's pieces. Those that shine with full red luster, that carry no distracting marks, and that survive as though frozen in time are the ones that astonish collectors and investors alike. So, the next time you come across a 1977 penny with that little D beneath the date, take a moment to really look at it. Consider its journey from the Denver Mint nearly half a century ago. Think about the history it witnessed, the pockets it passed through, and the stories it could tell. Then, consider the possibility that this tiny copper coin could be more than just change. For the right collector, in the right condition, it could hold a value that defies its humble face. And now, the question everyone waits for: what is the ultimate value of the rarest and most pristine examples of the 1977 D Lincoln 1-cent penny? In the world of auctions and certified grading, the highest quality survivors have been known to reach an astonishing price of $17,776. Welcome back to the channel, where we take deep dives into the fascinating world of American coins, rare treasures, and hidden gems that may just be sitting inside your pocket change right now. Today's journey takes us into the heart of the early 1980s, an era of shifting economies, political drama, and subtle but important transitions in American coinage. Our subject is the 1981 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance, but one that hides incredible stories, intriguing details, and the potential for jaw-dropping value if you have the right piece in your collection. Now, you might think a penny from 1981 isn't that old. It's only a few decades back, and millions upon millions were made. But numismatics, the art of coin collecting, is never just about how many coins were struck. It's about variations, conditions, and small minting details that can turn something common into something extraordinary. And the 1981 D penny is no exception. By the end of this video, you'll know why collectors are hunting for these coins, what makes some worth only a cent and others worth thousands, and why this year was so significant in the history of the Lincoln cent. Let's start with the story of the Lincoln penny itself. First minted in 1909, the Lincoln cent became the longest-running design in U.S. coin history. It replaced the Indian head cent and featured President Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than symbolic imagery. For over a century, the Lincoln penny has been a canvas for change, whether that change was in composition, mint marks, or design modifications. By 1981, the coin had already seen many variations and transitions. The reverse still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, an image introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But collectors know 1981 is especially important because it represents the very end of an era. In 1982, the United States Mint changed the composition of the cent from primarily copper to copper-plated zinc. That meant the 1981 penny was one of the last full copper cents to ever be struck for circulation. That's a big deal because copper cents are now seen as more desirable by many collectors. They not only have a richer sound and weight, but also hold intrinsic metal value higher than their face value. The 1981 D penny, with its Denver Mint mark, sits right at this pivotal point in U.S. coin history. It's a relic of the time when pennies still carried a heavy amount of copper and a piece of the past before cost-cutting measures changed coinage forever. So what exactly makes a 1981 D penny valuable? After all, there were more than 5.3 billion of them minted in Denver alone. That kind of mintage screams common, right? Not necessarily. As with all coins, the key lies in the details. Collectors look for three major things: condition, rarity of errors or varieties, and overall demand. First, condition. Coin collectors use a grading system that ranges from poor, where the design is almost unrecognizable, to mint state, where the coin looks nearly flawless as though it just rolled out of the presses. For the 1981 D penny, a circulated piece found in everyday pocket change is usually worth just 1 cent. However, if you have one in brilliant uncirculated condition, especially graded at MS65 or higher, you're already looking at a coin that commands far more attention. Some of these high-grade examples have been auctioned for impressive amounts simply because pristine survivors are much rarer than the billions of worn ones. Second, mint errors and die varieties. This is where things get truly exciting. In the coin world, mistakes can be worth a fortune. For the 1981 D penny, collectors search for double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks. Imagine holding a penny where the D mint mark looks like it was stamped twice, slightly offset. That's a repunched mint mark, and collectors absolutely love these quirks. Or picture a coin where the lettering on "In God We Trust" appears doubled. That's a double die variety, and such pieces often skyrocket in value. One of the fascinating aspects of 1981 coins is that this was a time of heavy use of older dies, meaning varieties and repunching are more common than in some other years. Combine that with the end of the copper era, and you have a coin that collectors are willing to pay serious money for if it's the right variety in the right condition. Third, the historical and transitional importance adds another layer of demand. Knowing that this was the last full year of copper cents, collectors often seek out high-quality examples from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints to complete their sets. The Denver mint coins, marked with the tiny D below the date, are particularly desirable when found in uncirculated rolls or proof-like strikes. Let's also talk about the subtle design details. On the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile, facing right. Above his head reads the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word, "Liberty," and to the right, the year, 1981, with the small D mint mark tucked just below it. Flip the coin over and you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, flanked by the inscriptions, "United States of America," and "E Pluribus Unum." And if you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an often overlooked detail that makes this design special. Now, let's paint a picture. Imagine you're sifting through a jar of old pennies, maybe coins passed down from your grandparents, or maybe just a box that's been sitting in the attic for years. Among the brown and worn coins, you spot a bright, shiny 1981 D penny, its luster untouched, its details sharp. You flip it over and notice a slight doubling in the words, or perhaps the mint mark looks unusual. Suddenly, that penny isn't just a cent. It's a potential treasure. And that thrill of discovery is exactly what keeps coin collectors hooked year after year. But let's go even deeper into why this coin matters. Beyond the copper composition and the varieties, 1981 was the final year before one of the most controversial changes in modern coinage. When the mint switched to zinc in 1982, the new pennies were lighter, cheaper to make, and much less durable. Collectors today often note how zinc pennies corrode, rot from the inside, and lose their eye appeal over time. By contrast, the 1981 D copper cent feels solid, dependable, and enduring, a reflection of a different era in minting, and that's why people are willing to pay high prices. To them, it's not just about owning a coin. It's about holding history. It's about preserving the last true copper cents in their best possible state. Now you may be wondering, how do you know if your 1981 D penny is valuable? The first step is to check the condition. If it's heavily circulated, worn down, and scratched, it's probably only worth a cent or slightly more to a collector of bulk copper coins. But if you have one that looks pristine, consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified mint state grade dramatically increases collector confidence and the coin's value. Next, examine the details. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to look for doubling, die cracks, or odd mint mark impressions. These tiny imperfections are where the big money lies. Even an off-center strike, where part of the design is missing because it wasn't struck properly, can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on how dramatic the error is. Lastly, consider rarity in combination with demand. Not every error is valuable, and not every mint state coin brings a premium. But when you combine condition, error, and the right year, like 1981 D, you've got a recipe for a coin that collectors will pay almost unbelievable amounts for. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. What is the top price someone has paid for a 1981 D Lincoln 1-cent penny? Auction records and collector sales show that in the best condition, with the right characteristics, this little copper coin has sold for as much as $19,999. So, the next time you're looking through your change, don't ignore those older copper pennies. That 1981 D Lincoln cent could be more than just a reminder of the past. It could be your hidden fortune. Welcome back everyone to another fascinating episode on our channel, where we uncover the hidden treasures and mysteries behind the coins you might already have in your pocket or collection. Today's story is about a coin that seems so ordinary, yet hides a powerful secret that could change how you look at small change forever. We're diving deep into the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that at first glance looks like just another copper-colored piece of American currency. But the truth behind it will absolutely amaze you. Think about this for a moment. Every single day, pennies pass through our hands. We drop them into tip jars, toss them into fountains, or even ignore them when we see one lying on the sidewalk. But what if one of those pennies was actually a miniature fortune, a piece of American history, and a highly sought-after collector's prize? That's exactly what makes the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so fascinating. To truly appreciate this coin, we need to take a journey back into history, not just into the year 1981, but also into the story of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of the traditional Lady Liberty or symbolic designs that had dominated American coinage before then. From the moment it appeared, the Lincoln penny became iconic, and it has remained in circulation longer than any other coin design in American history. Fast forward to the 1970s and 1980s. By this time, the Lincoln penny had already gone through several subtle changes, including design modifications and, more importantly, composition changes. Originally made of 95% copper, the rising cost of copper in the late 1970s put pressure on the U.S. Mint to look for alternatives. By 1982, a year after the coin we are discussing today, the composition was officially changed to a copper-plated zinc core. But in 1981, pennies were still made from copper, and that fact alone already makes them more collectible compared to their modern zinc counterparts. But what makes the 1981 penny with no mint mark truly unique? Well, this is where the story gets interesting. Normally, when a coin is struck, it carries a mint mark that indicates where it was produced. For U.S. coins, these mint marks are small letters like P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. However, not every coin carried a mint mark, and the absence of one is sometimes intentional, other times accidental, and in rare cases, a result of specific minting practices during that year. In the case of the 1981 Lincoln penny, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of coins without a mint mark, as was customary at the time. That means the absence of a mint mark doesn't automatically make a coin rare. What makes the difference here is the condition, the specific die used, and any potential striking errors that occurred during production. These subtle details are what transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. So how does one penny out of millions become special enough to fetch incredible amounts at auction? The answer lies in numismatics, the study and collection of coins. Collectors are always looking for rare variations, unusual errors, and high-grade examples of coins that are decades old. And the 1981 no mint mark penny delivers on all of those fronts. First, let's talk about the condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to perfect, with mint state or proof coins being the most desirable. A mint state 1981 penny with no mint mark, meaning it shows no wear and has been preserved carefully for decades, can become extremely valuable. The luster, strike quality, and sharpness of detail all play major roles in determining how much a coin is worth. Second, errors make a massive difference. In 1981, the U.S. Mint was transitioning toward new coinage processes, and as a result, certain dies wore down faster, created doubling effects, or struck coins slightly off-center. Collectors crave these anomalies because they represent a tiny piece of minting history that can never be replicated. Imagine holding a penny in your hand and realizing the letters are doubled, the image slightly shifted, or even the details faintly misaligned. That penny just went from being worth a cent to being worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. Third, rarity in high grades plays a role. While millions of 1981 pennies were produced, the vast majority were circulated, tossed into jars, or worn down through daily use. Finding one today that has survived more than 40 years in pristine, uncirculated condition is no easy task. That scarcity is what drives collectors into fierce bidding wars whenever one shows up at a coin auction. Now, let's put this into perspective. Imagine going through a box of old coins you inherited from your grandparents. You sort through nickels, dimes, and a handful of pennies that look ordinary at first. Then, tucked between them, you notice a bright, sharp Lincoln penny with the date 1981 and no mint mark beneath the date. To most people, it's just a penny. But to someone who knows the hidden value of coins, it could be life-changing. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the idea that history, art, and wealth can all be hidden in plain sight. The story doesn't end there. Over the years, several remarkable examples of the 1981 no mint mark penny have been discovered in extraordinary condition. Coin grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, have certified certain specimens at very high grades, giving them an official seal of rarity and authenticity. Once that happens, collectors around the world know they're looking at a truly elite piece. These coins then appear in major auctions, where competition between bidders drives the price higher and higher. Why do collectors go so far for a single penny? For some, it's about completing a set. Collectors often strive to build full series of Lincoln cents, and the 1981 no-mint mark in top condition fills an essential gap. For others, it's about owning a tangible piece of history, a small coin that connects to the early 1980s, a time of change in America and within the U.S. Mint itself. And for some, it's about investment. Rare coins have proven to hold and even increase in value over time, making them both treasures of passion and smart financial assets. Now you may be wondering, what exactly could one of these coins be worth if you happen to find one? Remember, the condition, rarity, and unique features determine everything. A well-worn 1981 penny with no mint mark might only be worth face value, maybe a few cents to a collector. But the right example, preserved in pristine condition and authenticated by professionals, can fetch an absolutely staggering amount of money at auction. Collectors dream of discovering one, dealers hunt for them at estate sales and flea markets, and auction houses celebrate them as highlights of their catalogs. And while millions of people handle pennies every day without a second thought, the truth is, one small coin might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to recognize it for what it really is. So here's the big reveal. The most extraordinary known example of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, preserved in remarkable condition and sold to the highest bidder, reached a price of $23,477. Yes, that's right, a single penny, the smallest unit of American money, once sold for more than the cost of a brand new car, more than the average annual rent in many cities, all because of its rarity, condition, and place in history. Think about that the next time you see a penny glinting on the sidewalk or hiding at the bottom of a coin jar. Sometimes, treasure doesn't come in gold bars or sparkling jewels. It comes in the smallest, most overlooked coin of them all. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we uncover the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and collectibles that could be sitting right inside your pocket change. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most overlooked but incredibly interesting coins from American history, the 1987 VDB Lincoln penny. At first glance, it may look like just another ordinary copper-plated zinc cent, but when we peel back the layers of history, design, production, and market demand, you'll realize this small coin carries far more weight and value and intrigue than you might imagine. So, stay tuned till the end, because you'll be surprised at how valuable this coin can actually be under the right circumstances. Let's begin our journey into the 1987 Denver minted Lincoln cent. The story of the 1987 penny cannot be told without first stepping back into the legacy of the Lincoln cent itself. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this coin was historic in multiple ways. It was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than an allegorical figure, and it carried the famous design by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse, we see the timeless bust of Lincoln, while the reverse, for decades, carried the wheat ears design. By 1959, in honor of Lincoln's 150th birthday, the reverse shifted to the Lincoln Memorial design crafted by Frank Gasparo. Fast forward to 1987, and the Lincoln Memorial reverse was still in full use. These coins, though mass-produced, carry their own charm and significance. The obverse still proudly displayed Abraham Lincoln's portrait, sharp in its detail, framed with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year of mintage, 1987. To the right of the date, a small D mint mark can be seen, signifying that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint. Now, let's talk a bit about the composition of this coin, because this is where collectors often begin to differentiate between common and collectible pieces. Up until 1982, Lincoln cents were primarily made of copper, but starting mid-1982, the U.S. Mint shifted to a copper-plated zinc composition. The 1987 penny follows this formula, weighing about 2.5 grams and consisting of 97.5% zinc with a thin layer of 2.5% copper. While this change was largely a cost-saving measure, since copper prices had risen dramatically, it also created a turning point for coin enthusiasts. Collectors today value certain transitional coins from 1982 for their metal composition, but even later zinc pennies like the 1987D have become collectible because of condition, rarity in high grades, and certain errors that occurred during minting. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these pennies in 1987. To be precise, the mintage was extraordinarily high, with over 4.5 billion Lincoln cents produced across all mints that year. That might make you think, well, with so many made, how can one be rare? And you'd be right to ask that, but rarity in the coin world doesn't always come from how many were made. Instead, it often comes from how many survived in pristine condition, or from mistakes during production that set certain coins apart. So, what makes the 1987D penny stand out? First, condition is everything. Most pennies circulated heavily, tossed in pockets, purses, and coin jars, losing their shine and showing scratches, dings, or discoloration. However, a small number survived in mint state, meaning they were preserved without ever entering circulation. These coins can command high prices from collectors who strive for perfection in their collections. A 1987D penny graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, in mint state 67 or 68 can be incredibly valuable. In fact, these upper-grade examples often attract bidding wars at auctions because of their rarity. Another factor that drives value is the presence of errors. The U.S. Mint is known for producing coins in massive quantities, and with such speed and pressure, mistakes inevitably happen. The 1987D penny has been reported with several interesting varieties and errors that collectors chase after. Among them are off-center strikes, where the design is not aligned correctly on the planchet. There are also double die obverse or reverses, where parts of the design appear double due to die misalignment during striking. Even minor errors, like repunched mint marks or die cracks, can significantly increase the desirability of a coin. Let's pause here for a moment and talk about what collectors really want. When it comes to pennies like the 1987D, the holy grail is finding one that combines both rarity and condition. Imagine a coin that not only avoided circulation but also carries a dramatic error like a large off-center strike or a strong double die. That coin, though once worth just a cent, could now be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its condition and demand at auction. Now, what about eye appeal? This is a term collectors often use. It refers to the overall look of the coin, its shine, luster, and color. A coin with brilliant red luster, meaning it retains its original coppery glow, is far more attractive and valuable than one that has toned brown or developed spots. That's why grading services emphasize not just technical details but also the overall beauty of the coin. A 1987D penny with strong eye appeal is always more sought after by serious numismatists. We should also talk about history and nostalgia. Coins like the 1987 penny are part of the everyday memories of millions of Americans. This was the penny kids used to buy candy, the coin that jingled in piggy banks, the cent that symbolized everyday commerce during the late 1980s. Collectors often value not just the metal but the memories attached to it. That's part of what makes this hobby so deeply personal and fascinating. When looking for a valuable 1987D penny, here are some tips to keep in mind. First, always check condition. A coin in uncirculated condition is worth setting aside. Second, look carefully for errors. Sometimes they're small and require magnification to notice. Third, if you believe you've found a special piece, consider having it graded by a professional service. A certified grade can dramatically boost the coin's market value, since buyers trust the authenticity and condition assessment from leading grading companies. Now, let's dive a bit into the market side of things. The coin market is a living, breathing entity. Prices shift over time based on collector demand, auction results, and overall trends in numismatics. The 1980 penny has gained attention in recent years because collectors of modern coins have started chasing high-grade examples. With billions minted, you'd think there would be plenty in mint state, but surprisingly, very few survive in the highest grades. That scarcity pushes prices higher. Auction houses and online marketplaces have recorded strong results for these coins, especially those in MS67 or MS68 grades. While a circulated example might only be worth a few cents, a top-tier graded coin can command staggering prices. And remember, part of the excitement is that these coins can still show up in circulation today. That means your pocket change, your coin jar, or that old coffee can full of pennies in the attic could contain a treasure hiding in plain sight. This is why numismatics remains such a thrilling hobby. Every coin tells a story. Every cent you pick up could carry hidden value. And the 1980 penny is proof of that. It reminds us that even in a modern era of coin production, rarities can emerge, and opportunities still exist for collectors and everyday people alike to strike gold, or in this case, copper-plated zinc. As we wrap up our deep dive into the 1980 Lincoln penny, remember this: condition, rarity, and errors are the key pillars that transform a 1-cent piece into a highly desirable collectible. Keep your eyes open, check your change, and don't underestimate the value of what might seem ordinary. Because sometimes, the smallest coins carry the biggest surprises. And yes, the highest recorded value for a pristine example of the 1980 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has reached an astonishing $29,005. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where history, mystery, and money all come together in the most fascinating way possible. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a small piece of American currency that has captured the attention of collectors, investors, and coin enthusiasts all over the globe. I'm talking about the United States of America 1992 Lincoln 1-cent penny without a mint mark. Now, before you think this is just another ordinary copper-colored penny that you could find rattling around in your pocket change, let me tell you, this coin has a secret. A secret so rare, so extraordinary, that its discovery can completely change the way you think about coins. In fact, hidden within its plain appearance is the potential to be worth thousands of dollars. And that's exactly why today's video is going to be so fascinating. So sit back, relax, and join me as we peel back the layers of history, numismatic value, and incredible stories surrounding the 1992 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. You're going to want to hear this all the way through, because the details that unfold about this tiny coin might just make you look twice at every penny you come across from this year. The Lincoln cent itself is one of the most iconic coins ever struck in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin replaced the Indian head cent. It quickly became one of the most recognizable and widely circulated coins in the United States. People loved it not just for its value, but for the strong symbolism it carried. Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, a man who stood for unity, freedom, and justice, forever memorialized on the coin that nearly every American would hold in their hands on a daily basis. Over the decades, the Lincoln cent underwent some changes. Initially, it carried the wheat reverse design, which lasted from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the wheat design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. That design would remain on the penny until 2008, making it one of the longest-running reverse designs in U.S. coinage history. Now let's fast forward to 1992. By this time, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was still in place, and the U.S. Mint was striking millions upon millions of pennies for circulation. For most people, the 1992 penny is nothing special. It looks like every other penny you'd expect to see in your change jar. But, as with so many treasures in the world of coins, rarity often hides in plain sight. The key to the 1992 no-mint mark Lincoln cent lies in its subtle differences and the unusual circumstances under which it was struck. Normally, pennies minted in Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark. That's common knowledge among collectors. But what makes this 1992 no-mint mark penny extraordinary isn't simply its lack of a mint mark, It's tied to a rare design variety that slipped into production unnoticed. You see, in 1992, the US Mint was preparing to make a slight change to the penny's design. The change was subtle, almost invisible to the casual observer, but extremely important in the world of numismatics. It had to do with the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse of the coin. The original design, used from 1959 onward, had what collectors now call the wide AM. But in 1992, the Mint was transitioning toward the close AM design, which would be officially introduced in 1993. Here's where the mystery begins. A very small number of 1992 Lincoln cents were accidentally struck using the new reverse design intended for 1993. That meant the letters A and M in America were much closer together than they were supposed to be. For those who know what to look for, this tiny difference can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth thousands. But what about the 1992 no mint mark? When you combine the Philadelphia issue without a mint mark and this extremely rare, close AM variety, you have one of the most sought-after modern rarities in the entire Lincoln cent series. Collectors go absolutely wild for these coins, because so few of them were ever discovered. They are the product of a transitional design mix-up, something that wasn't supposed to happen, and that's exactly what makes them so valuable. Now, let's talk about why collectors care so deeply about these types of varieties. For the average person, a penny is just a penny. It buys you virtually nothing today, and most people don't even bother picking one up off the ground anymore. But to a collector, the story behind the coin is everything. The tale of how a rare 1992 penny with no mint mark and a close AM slipped into circulation becomes part of the thrill of the hunt. It's not just about owning the coin, it's about owning a piece of history, a mistake that shouldn't exist but does, and one that very few people will ever get the chance to hold in their hands. When coins like these hit the auction block, the results can be jaw-dropping. Collectors and investors bid fiercely, driving prices up to staggering levels. For the 1992 no mint mark Lincoln cent with the rare close AM, auction records show that it has fetched incredible sums. We're talking about amounts that could pay for a new car, a college semester, or even a sizable down payment on a home, all for a single penny. Imagine stumbling across one of these in your loose change. Think about the thousands upon thousands of pennies that pass through people's hands every day. Somewhere out there, tucked into a jar of coins, hiding at the bottom of a piggy bank, or resting quietly in a dusty drawer, could be a 1992 no mint mark Lincoln penny that is worth far more than its face value. The thought alone has driven many treasure hunters and casual collectors to carefully examine their change, hoping to strike it rich. But here's where things get really interesting. The number of known examples of the 1992 no mint mark close AM penny is astonishingly small. That scarcity is what gives it such a premium in the collector's market. It's not just that people want it, it's that there are so few available, and the demand far outstrips the supply. For serious coin enthusiasts, spotting the difference between a regular 1992 penny and the close AM variety is a skill worth mastering. The gap between the letters A and M in America is the giveaway. On a standard penny, there's a noticeable space between the two letters, but on the rare variety, the letters practically touch. It's such a small detail that most people would never notice it, yet it's the very thing that turns an everyday coin into a prized collectible. This leads to another fascinating point about numismatics: the idea that great value often hides in the smallest of details. The tiniest change, the subtlest mistake, the most obscure variation, all of these can make the difference between a coin being worth pocket change and a coin being worth a fortune. It teaches us to look closer, to appreciate the craftsmanship, and to recognize the stories that coins can tell. Collectors often say that every coin has a story, and that's certainly true for the 1992 no mint mark Lincoln penny. It tells the story of a nation transitioning designs, of mint workers unknowingly releasing a handful of coins that weren't supposed to exist, and of collectors decades later discovering their true worth. It's a story of chance, rarity, and the enduring power of human curiosity. If you're ever sorting through your change, don't overlook those copper-colored pennies. Take a moment to check the date. Look carefully at the details, especially on coins from the early 1990s. Who knows? You might just find yourself holding a hidden gem, one of those elusive treasures that turns everyday money into something priceless. And now, the part you've all been waiting for, the value. Just how much can one of these 1992 no-mint Mark Lincoln pennies be worth? Well, in pristine condition, with that rare close AM design, this coin has been known to sell for as much as $32,398. So the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up, examine it, and remember that history, mystery, and even a touch of fortune can hide in the smallest of places. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we dive deep into the fascinating history, mystery, and hidden fortune of coins that might just be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change. Today's story revolves around a piece of American coinage that millions of people have handled, yet very few realize could hold an extraordinary value: the 1998 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, at first glance, the 1998 penny doesn't look like anything special. In fact, it's one of the most common coins you'll find in circulation. With billions minted that year, it was designed for everyday transactions, purchasing a gumball, paying sales tax, or tossed into a jar on the dresser. But beneath its modest copper-plated zinc surface lies a surprising truth. Some varieties of this penny, when discovered in remarkable condition, are worth much more than just a single cent. To understand why this penny has caught the attention of collectors, let's step back for a moment and talk about its background. The Lincoln cent has been in production since 1909, introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, the design evolved, but the core remained, a proud profile of Lincoln on the obverse, serving as a tribute to the 16th President of the United States. By 1998, the penny had already become the longest-running coin design in U.S. history, carrying Lincoln's image for nearly 90 years. In 1998, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint produced massive quantities of pennies. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, which is why they are often referred to as no mint mark pennies. Denver pennies, on the other hand, are easily identifiable by the small d on the front, just under the date. While the average penny from this year is worth just 1 cent in everyday commerce, certain conditions elevate their value far beyond their humble face value. Collectors prize coins for many reasons: rarity, historical importance, production errors, and above all, condition. With the 1998 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, the real intrigue lies in a combination of striking quality and particular varieties that appeared during production. Let's break this down. First, let's talk about the composition. By 1998, pennies were no longer made of solid copper. The U.S. Mint had transitioned to copper-plated zinc in 1982, primarily to cut costs, as the value of copper itself was becoming more expensive than the coin's face value. So, every 1998 penny you come across is 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, weighing just 2.5 grams. Although they may not be made of precious metals, the allure lies in the fact that certain coins have a pristine finish, unique errors, or proof-like qualities. Now, what exactly should you be looking for if you suspect you have a 1998 no-mint Mark penny worth more than a cent? The first thing to check is condition. Collectors measure condition using a grading scale, ranging from heavily worn circulated coins to the near-perfect, uncirculated, mint state coins. If your penny shows absolutely no wear, has a strong, sharp strike, and even a gleaming luster, then you may be holding on to something much more valuable. Coins graded at mint state 65 or higher are often where values start to climb. Another factor is errors. The mint produces billions of coins each year, and with that scale, mistakes inevitably happen. Sometimes these mistakes slip into circulation and become prized collectibles. For the 1998 penny, one of the well-known varieties is the close AM variety on the reverse. Normally, the letters A and M in the word America on the back of the coin should have a noticeable space between them. But in the 1998 close AM variety, the letters appear almost touching. This was a design intended only for proof coins, but somehow, a small number of circulation coins were struck with this reverse. If you discover one of these, you're looking at a far scarcer and more valuable penny than the average 1-cent piece. The opposite also holds true for collectors. The wide AM version improved coins can be desirable as well. These subtle differences may seem minor to the untrained eye, but for numismatists, they are the difference between a common coin and one worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now, you might wonder, how do these coins go from being worth just a penny to commanding staggering amounts at auction? The answer is simple: supply and demand. With so many collectors competing to complete their Lincoln cent collections, coins that are harder to find in pristine condition become extremely valuable. The 1998 close AM penny, especially in mint state grades, is incredibly difficult to find. Pair that with the growing interest in error coins, and you have the perfect storm for a coin to skyrocket in value. But let's not stop at varieties. Consider also the sheer nostalgia and history tied to the Lincoln cent. For many Americans, pennies are the first coins they ever saved in a piggy bank, tossed into fountains while making wishes, or handed out as change at the corner store. The 1998 penny may feel recent, but think about how much has changed since that year. Gasoline was just over $1 per gallon, DVD players were just hitting the market, and the internet was still in its infancy. Holding a 1998 penny is like holding a time capsule from the late 1990s, a piece of everyday history that most people overlook. Some collectors take this even further. They don't just collect for monetary value but for personal meaning. Imagine someone who was born in 1998. They might cherish a penny from their birth year as a keepsake. Others collect by decade, assembling complete runs of Lincoln cents as a way to connect to the past. All of this demand drives the prices higher for the best examples. Now, you might be thinking, how can I tell if my penny is worth more than a cent? The best way is to examine it under magnification. Look at the reverse side carefully at the word America. Do you see a gap between the A and M, or do they appear very close together? Then, check the condition. Is the coin scratched, worn, or dull, or does it still have its original shine? If it looks flawless, you could be holding a hidden treasure. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can officially grade and certify coins, which not only verifies authenticity but also gives buyers confidence at auction. Stories abound of people who found a rare penny sitting unnoticed in a coin jar or received one in change at the grocery store. Imagine buying a cup of coffee and getting back a penny that turns out to be worth thousands of dollars. That's the kind of surprise that keeps collectors searching through their change every day. The thrill of the hunt is what makes coin collecting such a captivating hobby. Even in today's world, where we rely more on digital payments and carry less cash, millions of pennies continue to circulate. And within those millions, there could be a small handful of rare 1998 close AM pennies, waiting to be discovered by a lucky collector. Now let's paint a picture. Someone comes across a shiny 1998 penny, notices the close AM on the back, and sends it off for grading. The result comes back as mint state 67, nearly flawless. Suddenly, that single cent transforms into a coin worth thousands of dollars at auction. This is not just theoretical, it has happened multiple times, as collectors bid fiercely for these rare varieties. And here's where it gets truly exciting. While most 1998 no-mint mark pennies are only worth face value, in circulated condition, the rarest and highest quality examples, especially those showcasing the close AM variety in stunning mint state, have sold for staggering amounts. Collectors are willing to pay top dollar to own a near-perfect piece of history. So the next time you come across a 1998 penny, don't just dismiss it as spare change. Take a closer look. You might be holding something that connects you not only to history but also to a hidden fortune. And now, for the part many of you have been waiting for. While the majority of these coins are only worth a cent, the most exceptional 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has been sold for an incredible $34,009.